Hello and welcome back to the TGP Series YouTube channel. Tonight we're bringing you live coverage of the opening round of the 29th season of TGP2, kicking things off in Bahrain at the Secure International Circuit, which will be followed up by Albert Park in Melbourne, Australia. Reigning champion Moss is back for another season, hoping to defend his title, but it will not be an easy feat, as also on the grid we see last season's runner-up Chris Johnson, who so narrowly missed out on the championship, as well as Theo Hickman, who'll be looking to impress on the promise he showed us as a stand-in towards the end of last season. Also expect the likes of Dom, Parsa, Baza and Daniel to be in the mix for race wins and podiums. Joining me tonight is four-time TGP1 champion Dan the Man. Good evening, Daniel.
Good evening, Roy. Yeah, it's good to be back. TGP is back, and as you say, we're looking forward to another titanic battle with a lot of familiar names and a few new faces as well. As we're watching this first qualifying session here in Bahrain, we've already got a McLaren in first place, officially passing on 25.8. I think his teammate, Wet Lemons, who I'm just going to call Lemons, is about to go up the field as well. And in fact, he doesn't. In fact, he stays in 11th place. He improved his lap time, but he does not improve further up the field. We've got Parset currently on pole, and Jacko in second. And as you say, the reigning champion, Moss, who's already had a spin in this session.
Yeah, and also having a spin was officially Parsa crawling back to the pits with no front wing. Moss about to start his final flying lap, which unfortunately for Parsa is not something he can say himself unless he's got a spare set of tyres. He may have to go out on a scrub set and hope to improve his time from there. But he's on pole by quite some margin, I have to say. 0.6 of a second over Jacko, who's having a very impressive qualifying session provisionally. So Moss now heading into turn one, and he'll be hoping to set a clean lap and move himself onto at least the front row.
Well, indeed, yes, and he will want to start off his new season in the best way possible. We've got Baz, you will have noticed, who's out of the session. He crashed out early on, hasn't even got a lap on the board, and Alex Zafro as well crashed about halfway through. At the moment, he's in 7th place, and we'll see if he stays there or not. As it says, Moss has gone purple in Sector 1 here, so he said Parser had a big gap at the front. I think Moss could be about to go and join him. Oh, a little bit squiggly there on the exit of the corner, but it's looking like a decent lap.
Yeah, he was 0.3 up in the first sector, and yeah, he was a bit wide through turn 6, but he's kept it all together, and has he backed off, or looked like he was derating there for a second. So he now runs through.
Yeah, I thought he backed off as well.
Yeah, it looks.
But I think he's still pushing. Oh no, he's only going a little bit flat out. Yeah, he did back off. He did back off. That's strange. Maybe he wants to go for one more lap.
It didn't come up as an invalid.
Lower fuel. No, it's definitely not an invalid lap, but he went to he turned the ERS off as well. So is he going to go again one last time? It looks like he will, I assume. Yeah. Interesting that he thought he felt the need to back off there. Could he live to regret that decision?
Quite possibly, yeah. His tyres will have a slight disadvantage because they're slightly more worn, but well, I mean, he's got going again. I didn't quite see what was wrong with the lap. He was up on his time, so maybe he lost all that time because he was quite wide through turn 6 and, you know, a bit squirrely on the exit of 8. So maybe he can still find some improvement out there. He's currently a second back from officially Parsa. What's his first sector like? It is 0.4 quicker than
the last one. Yeah.
Graphic says it's purple, but it's not always the most reliable graphic, has to be said. Through turn 8 now, he's hoping to keep it clean on the exit, which he does just about. And he's heading now into the very, very tricky turns 9 and 10. Take a wide entry, hit the apex. It looks like he's done that. Hard to tell from the camera angle, going to be honest. DRS wide open through this back straight. Quite a short back straight and quite a short braking zone into turn 11, which sweeps all the way up the hill before it turns right again into turn 12. Turn 12 is a place where we've seen a lot of drivers have some incidents, including Moss himself in this qualifying session. Don't run too wide, don't take too much curb. He's still 0.3 up. And a bit wide through turn 13.
A bit wide.
But he's only got this back straight and the final 2 corners to go, and even then the last corner doesn't really exist. So heavy braking now into the penultimate corner for Moss. And up to the line he comes. DRS will be approaching very shortly. DRS wide open, and he crosses the line to go back up to 3rd. Theo Hickman briefly pipped him, but it's P3 for Moss at best as things stand.
Well, we've got Jacko, who's just gone purple sector 2. I think he was 104.8 at the second sector point. I'm pretty sure Parser at that stage was at 104.6. So it's going to have a mammoth final sector to get pole here, but he's certainly going to close the gap, I think. Crosses the line, Jacko, and he does close the gap, but, well, only just. He doesn't even improve by a tenth there, so stays in second place for the time being. And Sayer Sports, who was on a lap and was improving, has lost it at turn 12.
Big disappointment from the Ferrari driver. But still, P8, it's a solid start. Won't get fresh tyres, but it's P8 is a good enough grid position to justify that. As you see there, he has lost his wing. Blair Grills not on a lap. And I believe that concludes the grid order for qualifying for the opening round of Season 29 of the TGP Series. And it's officially Parsa on pole by half a second.
It is indeed, yes. I'm not sure if that's his first pole. I'm pretty sure he got one last season, I seem to remember. But he's certainly starting off this season, the best way possible. He's on pole by a huge margin, as you say. And he'll be looking to try and keep that up in the race. But, as you mentioned, I don't know if we caused it, just as we went live, I think, he did have a spin at one stage and couldn't get out there for a final run. So, that could easily happen in the race, of course. And this game is, well, it's very, very easy in specific corners to lose the car, as we've seen in TGP1 yesterday and just all through practice on this game.
Yeah, and I can speak from experience this season now that I'm actually racing in TGP1 again. So, yeah, both of us have some insight. And, yeah, officially Parsa on pole position from Jacko on the front row. Moss Isley of Estonia in P3, followed by Theo Hickman and Chris Johnson, who rounds out the top 5. Daniel Wheelnut is in P6, followed by Dom Smith, Sayer Sports, Indecisive Mackie, an impressive 9th. Blair Grills rounds out the top 10. Alex Zaffro and Sir Tom Penguin are on the 6th row, followed by Wet Lemons and Stereogram. I missed the rest of the grid, to be honest, because the graphic, someone read it up very quickly. So, well, I think we're set for a pretty good race. I think some drivers may be out of position. Joe looked like he had more pace to give out there, so watch him come through the field potentially.
Yeah, for sure. Joe has more pace to show, and of course, I say he lost it in turn 12, but just wonder if you're in that 11th or lower, what tyres you're going to choose to start this race on, because there's I would say a high chance of a safety car or a virtual safety car, especially certainly in Australia in the next race. That'll be a possibility, but don't know, would you gamble on starting on the mediums for this one, Roy?
I did consider doing it if I qualified outside the top 10 yesterday, but I'm glad I didn't now, because the safety car probability around here is still pretty high. There's plenty of places around here where you can cause some incidents. We saw yesterday, I believe, incidents at the final corner actually causing safety cars or virtual safety cars. But here we are on the grid. It's Parsa on pole from Jacko. And TGP2 Season 29 is underway, with Jacko getting a brilliant start from second place. And Jacko's already into the lead, heading down into turn 1. Alfa Romeo on the inside, McLaren on the outside. Officially Parsa is on the racing line. Big lunge from the Aston Martin on the inside, but it's officially Parsa who has that racing line and is managing to keep the lead of this race from Jacko. Dom Smith is already up into P3, a brilliant start from the Aston Martin. Sayer Sports up into 4th with Daniel P. Wheelnut in P5. Chris Johnson rounding out the top 6 with Indecisive Mackie making a good start. Wet Lemons is up to P8 already.
Oh, got a bit tight with Hickman into turn 3, and he's been spun round. He lost 14 positions after that, and Moss as well is down to 12th. I think he must have caused the crash. It all got really tight between him and the likes of Daniel Price and Dom and Joe Sayer into those first couple of corners, and the losers are certainly Moss and Hickman.
Yeah, not an ideal start, as we see an incident for Daniel P. Wheelnut. I think he's got it under control. He's just about managed to get it back on track. He still retains the position. He's still in the top 5, but he's under pressure now from Chris Johnson on the run down to turn 11. Braking zone's not quite big enough for Chris Johnson, and he'll have to stay in P6 as things stand.
So Dom and Joe Sayer then have managed to weather the storm and get through all that madness. Third and fourth. Dom runs a bit wide there in turn 12, but gets away with it, and then wide in turn 13. And I tell you what, Joe Sayer may well pounce down the straight, but Chris Johnson also right on the back of Daniel Wheelnut, and a Red Bull is spun. It's Kaya
with an incident at the back. Does he have damage? I don't think he does, so we should be safe in terms of a safety car or a virtual safety car. And it's Parsa with a 1.3 second lead after lap 1. He's cruising out in front, or well, rather streaking away out in front, I should say. And it's Dom Smith, very impressive in P3, but it's Sayer Sports pressuring him. He's had a lunge up the inside, has Sayer Sports. He's going to get a good run now into turn 4. DRS not yet enabled, it's only lap 2, but the Ferrari looks to have the pace over the Aston Martin.
Yeah, Alex Afro in indecisive also battling there as well. Alex Afro in 7th, indecisive in 8th. So Dom maintains their place for the time being, then 1.1 seconds behind Jacko. So not within DRS range, which of course will be enabled on the next lap. And despite the spins that we had, I don't think we've got anybody in the pit lane.
No, so relatively incident-free in terms of people having to stop for damage. But yeah, still the likes of I'd say even Mr. John as well at the back. Theo Hickman is battling Sir Tom Penguin for P14, and Theo Hickman is going around the outside of turn 10. Brilliant move from the young man from Manchester, I believe. And the Williams driver now up into P14 ahead of Sir Tom Penguin, and he's going to chase down Angel versus Death in the Haas.
Stereogram and Baz are having a battle as well. Baz, of course, had to start at the very back. He managed to work his way up to 10th place. Oh, wow! And I thought he was going to hit the back there of Wet Lemon. And Angel versus Death is off. He's out the race.
And we have a virtual safety car. First one of the race. We can have up to 2, I believe. And I think Jacko has jumped into the pits, has he? No, he has not.
No, he hasn't.
But Dom has.
He decided not to. Dom's in, Say Sports is in.
Early
Top
in the
2
race.
have stayed out.
Well, it's worth pointing out Dom Smith is contending this season on a wheel, and this is the first season he's done on a wheel, and he has found massive improvements to his tyre wear. So perhaps the old Dom on the controller would not have made that decision, but Dom obviously feeling comfortable enough to make these tyres last until the end of the race.
And we're back underway just as these guys leave the pit lane then. So I suppose it's worked out well for them. Is Dom going to get out ahead of Kaya? No, he's not. So they're going to have to try and get past Kaya and Red Bull Kim pretty quickly here. And Parsons and Jacko are going to have to make the most of that while they can. This is very similar to the TGP1 race yesterday, where some drivers pitted in an early VSC. But then we had a safety car, which helped the guys who stayed out. We'll see what happens this time around. Kaya's fighting with Dom here, but Dom gets through.
Yeah, and now Sayer Sports has to stick behind the Red Bull through this middle sector. He's going to have to get through as quickly as he possibly can to resume his battle with Dom. But nothing doing into turn 8. He's going to have to look towards the back straight as Kaya gets a bad exit, and they've made contact. Kaya is round Sayer Sports. I don't think he's picked up damage, but he's been overtaken by Daniel P. Wheelnut. The camera angle wasn't ideal to give any indications to who was at fault for that incident. But it's Kaya that's come out worse, that's for sure. Oh, and we have an incident at the back for an AlphaTauri. I think Sir Tom Penguin has crashed the car. Does he have any damage? Yes, his front wing is completely gone, but it looks like we're not going to get any virtual safety car or safety car. I think we're good with just a yellow flag for now.
So we start lap 4 then, and Jacko is within DRS range of Parser, but not enough to actually use it down that straight that time. So he must have good straight line speed, I suspect, to gain that much down straight without it. Those are the top 2, and then further back is Bazzo, who of course starts at the back. As we mentioned, he didn't pit, so he's up into 3rd place for the time being. And Dom is now past Red Bull Kim as well.
Dom flying through the traffic, it has to be said, so he's looking good for a net podium. As Red Bull Kim going back up the inside, he thought about it, he stamped on the brakes at the apex, and he's managed to get out of the way of Dom. So Dom up into P6, Daniel P. Wheelnut will be stuck behind Red Bull Kim now through this middle sector unless he can get past down this DRS straight, but I don't think he's going to have the opportunity. He's too far back as things stand, so he's going to have to sit behind through the corners. The traffic working brilliantly for Dom, not so much for his rivals.
Yeah, Alpha Straight and will Josiah be right now. We had that instance with Kaya and of course lost the position for it as well. And I thought Chris Johnson was going to have a go at him there as well, but he does not go for it. So Jacko's getting even closer to Parser at this stage. Now, if these two start battling, of course, it will lose them time, but he's got 70% DRS, Jacko, and he's definitely going to have DRS this time round as well.
Yeah, and as we're pointing out, the DRS around here is very powerful. Jacko within half a second of Parser. He's got some overtake at his disposal. DRS is wide open. Surely he's going to be able to have a go here as he sets the fastest lap of the race. And look at that. On the inside, Alfa Romeo on McLaren, and he's easily through. Nothing Parser can do to defend that one.
Yeah, good move. Good move by Jacko, but just wondering if Parser's going to get back through here. He will have DRS for this time around, but Jacko is pulling away. He's got that ERS deployed and he's just streaking clear and maintains the lead then. We've got Mr. John overtaking Stereogram for 4th place meanwhile. And they've got a few other yellow flags going on, a few incidents going on further behind. But Red Bull Kim has lost a few positions on that lap now as Daniel P. Wheelnut, Josiah and Chris Johnson will go through.
I know it was Parser didn't really fight Jacko too hard. I'm wondering if Parser's playing the long game here and thinking, well, if we fight too much, then it will just give the advantage to Dom. So the DRS is very powerful around here, and of course we do have 3 DRS zones, which Parsa is currently utilising one of. He's got his overtake open, overtake on DRS open, and he's actually, well, I say that, he's going for a lunge down the inside at turn 11. Very risky move. They managed to avoid contact, but yeah, side by side at Bahrain.
Wow, well, you were very lucky to avoid an instant there, but look, you can see the times I'm just seeing on telemetry on this lap pass, 1.1 seconds slower than his quickest lap so far. It just shows how much time they're losing, and he's going to have a go into the final corner. No, he backs off. So will either of them pit here then? On lap 5, will he think maybe this is the best time to pit into the battle, and they might both pit, you know? No, Jacko does the dummy, Parsa comes in.
Parsa making an early stop then. He's not gambling for any kind of safety car. Jacko, meanwhile, I think perhaps is, or maybe he just wants the fresher tyres towards the end of the race. Overtaking very much possible around here as Theo Hickman picks up a time penalty. I believe that's the first one of the race. Yes, it is. So Parsa, now where will he come out in relation to Dom? That is key to his race. It's worth pointing out the track position may not be everything, because as we said, we can overtake around this circuit, but Dom powering down the main straight. I don't think he's going to get Parsa here. I think Parsa will maintain that position, and if anything, Dom's actually under pressure from Daniel P. Wheelnut.
Yeah, that was not as close as I thought it was going to be. Look, Chris Johnson, Say Sports battling right now as well. Chris Johnson gets through. He finished second championship last year. He won championship this year, but he spun. He spun. I don't know if he collided with Joe Sayer or if he just dropped it on the exit, but he has gone round.
Oh, the turning circle of an F1 car is not great, and Chris Johnson is finding that out the hard way. Did not reverse enough, and he's lost even more places than he perhaps would have. He's got a Mercedes right behind him. He's going to have to be careful about that. Mercedes looks up the inside. It's Moss. So Chris Johnson and Moss, after making their stops, currently running in P14 and P15. Of course, some drivers still yet to make their stop, but I don't think we would expected that. And Sir Tom Penguin retires from the session. There's yellow flags out there, and it's a safety car. Full safety car. That's worked out brilliantly for Jacko.
Absolutely perfectly for Jacko. And Baz is also going to come in, because there's going to be the 2 Alfa Romeos, but there's 16 seconds separating them. So I don't think Baz will have to queue. Jacko comes in then, and, well, it looks like he made the right decision to stay out that extra lap. You have to assume he's going to fairly comfortably come out in the lead here. Here he comes into his pit box. Basil will surely follow. So will Mr. John and Stereogram as well. Shout out to Stereogram, who's had a decent race so far. Jacko's already had his pit stop, and he is going to be comfortably in the lead, is he? I'm just wondering if Parson might start to speed up a bit here now as the Delta falls away. But Jacko will keep the lead just about. Yes, he does.
Well, all is not lost for Parsa, so he's still in the fight for the lead very much, and there's only one difference in the life of the tyres, 1 lap difference in the life of the tyres, I should say. But Dom in P3, Daniel in P4, their tyres are not going to be particularly fresh. They pitted on lap 2 of this race, so that could be critical at the end of the race. They may have to get a bit defensive towards the end. So I think it's definitely advantage Jacko and Parsa.
So Say Sports also came back in the pit lane there. I wonder if he picked up damage when he made that collision with Kaya. So he's come in. Alex Afro's also come back in. He was on hard tyres. Now he's put medium tyres on. And we've got Chris Johnson back in the pits as well now after that spin. So Moss into 9th place. Bazet is really the big winner from all of this, though, isn't he? He starts at the back, and it's played out well for him. He's in 5th place on fresh tyres, and I wonder if he can maybe get past Dom and Wheelnut here. He might have 2 Alfa Romeos on the podium first race of the season.
Yeah, Baza up 14 places, Mr. John up 11. Big loser from this, yeah, Chris Johnson down 11 places. But yeah, Sayer Sports, perhaps, as you said, picking up damage from that earlier collision. He's gone on for mediums again. So, you know, not looking to risk it on the soft tyre. I think in that
I think it might have been worth a gamble on softs there, to be honest.
Yeah, I would have gone soft in that case. But, oh well, we'll have to see what kind of charge he can make up the field. He'll be looking to make moves past the likes of Blair Grills and Stereogram. So, yeah, even though Moss is having a pretty rocky start to his title defence, he's still ahead of Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson not even on course to score points currently. So Chris will be looking to make his way up the field, and well, it's a case of damage limitation for Chris, I think.
So we've just had a bit of an incident with Mr. John and Hickman, which has added 5 seconds to the time, both of them. So, well, I know for sure Mr. John will get that removed. He was the car ahead. I want to say I'm fairly certain Hickman will as well, but it looks like he's pitting. He must have actually got damage when he had that instance. That can only be the assumption for that, and that's going to send him right to the back, and he'll have to save the 5-second penalty as well. So that's pretty much the race over for Hickman this time around then, and Mr. John will surely get that 5 seconds removed when they cross the line.
Yeah, on board with Theo Hickman, and he's not replacing his wing. He is serving his penalty. It looks like he's being held in the box, or is he replacing his wing? The camera's not really telling me much. It didn't look like they had a front wing ready for him, but either way, he's gone on to the soft compound tyres. So Theo will be looking to be very aggressive at the end of this race. And, well, he wasn't having the best race anyway. He was in the lower end of the top 10, I believe. So, I mean, he hasn't lost too much, but still, that's a pretty disappointing start for Theo.
Yeah, let's hope that's the last safety car penalty that gets dished out then, because it's really frustrating when that happens. And don't really know why co-masters have not sorted it out, but hey ho. Wet Lemon also has a 5-second penalty, but that one's for speeding in the pit lane. So that is a real penalty that he will certainly have to get added to his time at the end of the race. And we're on lap 8 then. Do you think it's going to be this lap we get back going again?
It should be, yeah. We've got the field all bunched up now. Everyone's caught up to the safety car train. And yeah, actually I think, you know, if I was Wet Lemons, I would have gone into the pit lane there to serve that penalty, because, I mean, he's in 14th anyway, so it's not like he's going to lose too much. He is in the final points paying position, but he's got the likes of Chris Johnson and Theo behind him, so he has his work cut out to actually keep those points, or keep that 1 point, I should say.
Very good points.
So yeah, I think maybe he doesn't know that that's a thing you can do, but oh well. He's currently P14. Let's see where he can end up at the end of the race. But it's Jacko who leads the safety car train.
So just before we get going, then it's worth saying that yesterday when we had the safety car restart in TGP1. The leader waited pretty much until the last moment to get going and created a wild restart. We'll see if the similar happens here as Jacko is getting ready, backing the pack up. Will he go for it on the exit of the final corner? I think he is.
Yep, Jacko floors the throttle. Overtake is being deployed. What about Parsa? Parsa's also using the overtake. He's got the slipstream, but I don't think he's going to have the advantage heading into turn 1. So it's Jacko with a great safety car restart who holds position. Dom Smith holding on to P3 from Daniel P. Wheelnut. Baza currently in 5th. I don't think we see any moves. Actually, there's a McLaren looking up the inside as Wet Lemons passes Red Bull Kim at the safety car restart. Wet Lemons with that penalty, but Red Bull Kim also has a penalty. So at the moment, Wet Lemons may hold on to a point.
I think he will, yes. Say Sports come back through the field then against Blade Grills for 10th place. Can Say Sports get the move done? Blade Grills are sticking in there. They're going to be side by side and into the air, but Say Sports keeps the position and is into 10th. And we've got a spinner. It's Mr. John. Mr. John's off, turn 7.
Mr. John with the most driver of the days in the previous season, and there's contact with Red Bull Kim. Red Bull Kim on the outside. But yeah, Mr. John losing plenty of positions there. As we see the penalties, some of those will get removed. Again, you know, Codemasters with their peculiar safety car penalties. Don't know which ones will count and which ones won't. The 3-second one certainly will remain. But actually that's something worth bearing in mind. Theo Hickman does have that 3-second penalty.
He does indeed, yes, and so there's Indecisive in 6th place as well, and Moss, of course, in 7th, and they're battling right now. But look at the front. Look at Parsa going for Jacko in the final corner.
Final corner is not often a place you see overtaking moves. Who will get the DRS in the situation? It's all about who's behind at the detection
Nobody
point.
will.
It was nobody. So
because it's the restart, so we don't get a DRS for another couple of laps. But Jacko's going to come straight back at Parsa.
Jacko with the straight line speed advantage, it seems, and Jacko has the inside line. Now Parsa tries to brave around the outside. He will become the inside for turn 2, and he has to back off there because that would have been contact and it would have been a spin for the McLaren as they go side by side again on the run down to turn 4. It's Parsa with the inside, Jacko with the racing line. You can go around the outside here, but I think it's the inside line that will prevail, or maybe not, as Jacko goes around the outside. They're still side by side on the run down to turn 6, but in the end it's Parsa who wins out that battle.
Wow, what a fantastic duel that was. And it's a look at this, it's allowed Dom to come right into it now, and Wheelnut's just there as well, and Bazza. Top 5 all in the same picture as they've got a card off. I think that might be Lemons has gone for a spin. He has indeed, but we're watching the guys at the front, and I don't, DRS will be enabled on the next lap, won't it? So they won't even have it this time round, but I do think overall Parsa's the quicker driver here, but Jacko certainly seems to be quicker in a straight line. Parsa got to try and pull away in this middle sector so he can relax a little bit down the straight.
Yeah, it's very difficult to pull away at this track. Again, the DRS kind of keeps drivers within range. I think I was a beneficiary of that last night, it has to be said. But yeah, Jacko just falling out that 1 second range, though Parsa has managed to gap him. It's currently standing at 1.1 seconds, and it's Dom who's just fallen out of DRS range of Jacko. I think the tyre life is starting to play a big factor here, but it's Daniel P. Wheelnut in the Mercedes who is right behind Dom Smith and is going to be looking to make a move down into turn 1. Will he choose the outside or the inside? Dom goes defensive to the inside, so it's the outside line for Daniel P. Wheelnut. Tries to outbrake him, but it's not going to work. He may get a better run now onto the run to turn 4. He gets a wider entry into turn 2, and he's a bit squirrely on the exit. He's got his overtake deployed. He hasn't got a lot of it left. He's got DRS wide open. Dom Smith will surely go defensive here. Doesn't need to. Dom Smith looking like he's got a lot of straight line speed.
Yeah, Dom's done very well there to defend, and it keeps their place for the time being. And as of course, these have both got 7-lap-old tyres, so there's not like there's any difference in tyre wear for these guys. As Wheelnut's still right behind them, but Dom still is keeping up, I suppose, with Jacko. He's just going to be enough for him to hold DRS down this straight, just about. And and Wheelnut actually goes a bit wide. He's got making points all wrong, and Bazza might go through.
Bit of breathing space now for Dom. He just needs to focus on staying within a second of Jacko, but he's already fallen down to 1.1 seconds, so he's going to have to be pretty quick through these long sweeping corners, but that's not going to be easy with the tyre wear disadvantage. But it's Bazza who gets a bit squirrely through turn 11, but it's Bazza in the Alfa Romeo holding on to P4. Brilliant race from Bazza.
Yeah, but crucially now though, Bazza and Wheelnut both have corner cut penalties, so Dom can breathe a little easier in that respect. If they pass him, he knows he just has to be within 3 seconds. But I think we're reaching that stage now where the tyres, especially when you go through that turn 12, it can be very, very difficult to keep the car in a straight line.
Daniel has got the DRS wide open. He hasn't got the straight line speed over Bazza though. None of them have any overtake left, so it's fairly level playing field in terms of that. So Bazza does not have overtake to defend himself with, but at the same time Daniel does not have overtake to do much attacking with either.
We've got Moss, who's just got up into 6th place past Indecisive. Fairly easy overtake for him then. I wonder how many positions he can get in the closing laps here. Can he catch up to Wheelnut and Bazza? They've all got 3-second penalties, but it's a possibility he could maybe manage to recover up to a 4th place here, Moss, as Wheelnut is still keeping Bazza within his sights. At the front though, it's a 2-second lead for Parsa, and it's looking relatively comfortable.
Yeah, Parsa just needs to keep it on the road now as we have a spin.
He's
a spin for Wheelnut, and he's dropped down to P8, and I think he won't lose any more positions unless Theo Hickman can get a pretty good run, but Theo Hickman will have better tyres. He's got those soft tyres on. They're both D rating, so they don't have any deployment left. But we've got another yellow flag. I think we have another spin at the back. Stereogram has spun in the Williams at turn 10. He recovers nicely, well, not so nicely I should say, and is currently running a P16. Is very wide, goes Daniel P. Wheelnut. Theo Hickman all over the back of him now as he pressures him for P8.
Yeah, Wheelnut's tyres were all hooked up as they were going through turn 12 there, so he had to back off a little bit and nearly dropped it. So Hickman could very well make the run here and get 8th place. Again, look, he's sliding out the corner, Wheelnut. But he'll have DRS here, Hickman, but it doesn't have much overtake left. But neither does Wheelnut, so is this going to be an easy move ultimately for 8th place for Hickman? He made that pit stop, remember, once he got the penalty, and actually it hasn't worked out too badly for him. He gets into 8th place, and I think he's only got a 3-second penalty as well.
Wheelnut getting very squirrely through turn 2. It's Theo Hickman who keeps the DRS. And yeah, I think Daniel kind of gave that one up. He realised the situation. He had a driver behind on fresher, soft tyres, so I don't think there was much point defending that one. As we have a yellow flag, Stereogram's gone for another spin at turn 1. But yeah, it's Theo Hickman who has managed to gain some places at the restart. Blair Grills is out of range in terms of picking up a place with their penalties. So yeah, and it's Parsa still with a 1.9 second lead. So again, looking comfortable for Parsa.
It is, but I think it's worth watching just all these cars now as they go through turn 12, because you can tell they're really starting to struggle at this stage, especially the guys who pitted early on in that virtual safety car. They're all getting through there well so far, but interestingly, Jacko was flat out through there. Parsa wasn't, and virtually no other drivers were, but Jacko still was, interestingly.
Yeah, after pitting on lap 2, the tyres will be screaming. I know mine were when I pitted on lap 2 last night. And it's Baza who's got the run on Dom, looking for the podium place on the road. But of course, Baza does have the penalty. Dom is penalty free. And Baza tries to have a look up the inside, but he thinks better of it. He's looking for the run now into turn 4. But he goes a bit wide. He's going to tighten his entry to turn 4. Or turn 2, I should say. I've forgotten how to count. And DRS wide open now for Baza. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I think he is just too far back. He just needs to keep going the way he's going and hopefully not lose any places at the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. So final lap then of this race, and Baza. Oh wow, Baza. Moss and indecisive all have 3-second penalties, and I tell you what, I think Josiah may well pick up certainly one position when he crosses the line here for 6th place because of those penalties ahead of him. Baza again still very close to Tom, but as you say, with the penalty, it's probably all over now as Alex Afro sets the fastest lap, but he won't get the extra point for it though because he is not in the points at the moment.
Not in the points at the moment is correct, and Sayer Sports, I think it will just be the one place that he gains at the end, but still 6th place, perhaps could have been more, but we see now Parsa heading towards the final corner. And winning the opening round in Bahrain, it is officially Parsa looking to build a championship challenge which he could not mount last season due to inconsistency. So hopefully this is the perfect start for Parsa as he wins the first round in Bahrain after overtaking Jacko. Jacko comes home second. Josiah up to 6th.
Josiah does get 6th place, but he was very close to beating Moss as well to 5th.
Theo Hickman comes home in 8th, Blair Grills and Daniel P. Wheelnut rounding out the top 10. Mr. John can only get up to 11th. Kaya in P12. Wet Lemons, after his penalties, still manages to finish 13th and get 2 points. Chris Johnson, P14. So just the 1 point for the runner-up from last season. Red Bull Kim just missing out on the points. Stereogram crosses the line to finish in P17. Fastest lap holder, Alex Zafro, will cross the line in 17th, last on the road. He won't get the point for that fastest lap, as you said. So it is P17 and 0 points for Alex Zafro, but it's officially Parsa out in front.
It is indeed, but what a great battle that was with Jacko. Jacko, of course, benefited hugely from the safety car deployments. So did Bazet, and that is why he is the driver of the day after starting from the back, finishing in 4th place. So a McLaren driver wins the first race of the season, but I think that the team winner overall certainly has got to be Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, driver of the day for Baza, richly deserved, coming from the back. But yeah, Parsa and Jacko, well, they looked pretty comfortable out there, it has to be said. But Australia is an entirely different challenge, very different circuit, even more tricky to keep it on the road. And I think yesterday, certainly, a lot of drivers in TGP1 were very cautious over some of those curbs. So yeah, we may see some incidents in Australia. So race rundown, we've got officially Parsa winning the race from Jacko. Dom Smith completing the podium for Aston Martin, with Baza in P4 just missing out, also having that penalty. Moss finishes in P5, a good recovery at the end from the Estonian. Sayer Sports in P6 ahead of Indecisive Mackie, an impressive P7. Theo Hickman recovered at the end to finish in P8, with Blair Grills and Daniel P. Wheelnut rounding out the top 10. The final point scorers were Mr. John, Kaya, Wet Lemons and Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson will certainly be looking to get more of a... well, he'll be looking to Australia to kickstart his season after that disappointing season opener.
You're not wrong there. You're certainly not wrong there. Johnson had that spin, didn't he? I don't know, like I said, I didn't have a great angle of it at the time. So I don't know if Chris Johnson actually collided with Sayer Sports or if he just dropped it on the exit of the corner. I'm sure he'll have footage which he can provide to solve that mystery. But either way, he's not going to be happy with 14th in the first race of the season. But to be honest, I'm not really sure Moss will be happy with 5th either, to be fair.
Yeah, he won't be too happy. I mean, it's also worth pointing out he can't just look at Chris Johnson, because Parsa and Jacko were up there on merit. They out-qualified both of them. So, yeah, maybe Parsa and Jacko could be contenders this season. Of course, Dom as well. was right up there. He had a disappointing qualifying, but in the race, coming home on the podium, and that was on worn tyres as well. So perhaps in the end, it may have been better to just stay out. Well, of course, it would have been better to stay out with the safety car, but yeah, he held on brilliantly with those really worn tyres. So yeah, there's at the moment, I mean, we're only one race in out of 22, but there's definitely no calling it yet.
You mentioned the inconsistency that Parsa showed last year. He did set some good results, but yeah, he did. There was so many times him and his teammates at the time, Cena, had so many chances of winning more races and getting more poles than they did, but always seemed to make an error or just bad luck came their way. And Parsa want to reverse that certainly this time around, and goes into the second race of the season as the championship leader. And we do move on to Australia. Incredibly tough circuit on this game. Drivers were very critical of it yesterday in TGP1 after the race. It's very difficult, more difficult than it's ever been on any previous F1 game, I think. And we'll see how the TGP2 guys get on with it as well. I wonder if they may also have to deal with some rain.
Dynamic weather, of course, enabled in TGP2 and 1. And weather settings are approximate, so again, the weather radar, it's not going to be perfect, so you know there may be a few twists here and there as the season progresses. But loading up now Australia for qualifying here at Albert Park, which for the last 2 seasons has actually missed its place on the real Formula 1 calendar. We all know why. But hopefully it can return with its new layout, which of course is not featured on the game. But we will have a new layout for 2022, where hopefully we'll be back. But Australia are being very, very strict on their restrictions, so we'll have to see how it pans out. Some people haven't been home in about 18 months, but yeah, we'll have to see how the future pans out.
Of course, as Dom mentioned yesterday in the TGP1 commentary, this TGP2 calendar is also pretty could change. It's come to the end of the season where we're hoping that the likes of Imola and Portimao will be on the calendar, along with Jeddah as well in Saudi Arabia, which will allow us to add those tracks towards the end of the season. But if not, I think we've got reserves such as China and Singapore ready to go. But hopefully, let's hope that we get those tracks in the game towards the end of the season. But anyway, this is race 2. This is Australia, and certainly for qualifying, it is sunny. And also for the race, I've just had confirmation that it is a dry race as well.
So, just like TGP1, sunny skies here at Albert Park. First driver out on track will be, it's an Alfa Romeo. If I can scroll down and find the person, that would be great. It is Jacko.
It is indeed. Don't know why my TV screen was still showing him in the pit lane, but yeah, he is certainly out on track right now, Jacko. I don't know why it's done that.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I was having a bit of a glitch with the spectator cam there. The gears were going up, but it was just showing me shots of the garage, but he was actually at turn 4. That's a new one, I have to say. But yeah, we've got Jacko now out on track. First driver out there here at Albert Park, this circuit, which, as you mentioned, has become pretty treacherous. I think unreasonably difficult.
Yeah, certainly. And because we follow Jacko on this outlap, it is this corner, or these 2 corners, this chicane, turn 11, 12, which is incredibly fearsome on this game. It's always been difficult. You know, let's not make no bones about it. But, I mean, I feel like as though you can't go flat out through that second part. You have to be so careful going over the curb. One little touch of the curb and you're going to spin, or certainly half spin, as we see Jacko come around the final corner to start his lap. Final corner, also quite difficult in this game, I've noticed.
Yeah, oversteer or understeer tend to plague the drivers through that corner. We did see some incidents in the TGP1 race at that final corner, and Jacko then cleanly through the first 2 corners, which are quite difficult. You can spin quite easily on that AstroTurf for turn 2, But DRS wide open now into turn 3, takes a wide entry as he should, and stays away from that exit curb at turn 3, which can be pretty dangerous. I think we have a retirement already in a Red Bull on the exit at turn 2. It's Kaya, so he's out of the session and will not set a lap. So Jacko through the first sector then, keeping it all neat and tidy, heading down to the chicane at turns 9 and 10, which are no longer there in real life, so we'll have to get used to these not being around in the future. But we've an incident for someone else. Who is that? As Jacko goes... Okay, my co-commentator has disconnected at a very inconvenient time, so apologies for that. But Jacko then, in the final sector, rounding the third last corner. Be very careful with the speed through here. You don't want to run too wide and invalidate your lap and undo all your hard work. Penultimate corner, sacrifice a little bit of speed before the final corner so you can open it up. DRS will be wide open down this pit straight, and he'll be looking to set the lap, a decent banker lap, and it is a 1:22.7, which is not beaten by Sir Tom Penguin, who is 6/10ths back, setting at 23.3. So what can the likes of Theo Hickman do? Around the penultimate corner he goes, looking to open up that final corner and get a good run. Daniel P. Wheel not only goes it's P5 now, time's tumbling. Theo Hickman across the line, and it's provisional pole by 9/10ths of a second. It's a 1:21.8. Indecisive Mackie currently occupies P3. Next across the line is a Mercedes of Moss, and he sets a 1:22.4, so he's on the front row provisionally. We've got I thought we had a Ferrari crossing the line, but it appears not. It's actually Sayer Sports starting his lap. So Sayer Sports with the DRS wide open on his run down to turn 3. Officially Pars is also on track, and he's slightly further up the road. He's got an Alfa Romeo in front of him. Hopefully the Alfa Romeo will move out of the way. He might get a bit of a slipstream now actually on the run to turn 9. But the Alfa Romeo doesn't seem too keen on moving out of the way. Perhaps the Alfa Romeo is also on a lap, but I'm not sure he is. Baza's on mediums. I think Baza is on a lap, so I think Parson must have just started the lap right behind Baza. Something's not quite right there. As we see incidents around the track, we have a spinning Ferrari. I believe that was Red Bull Kim at the chicane. Parsa, I mean, you might as well give up the lap at this point. I don't know what's going on here, but they'll both set laps regardless. Baza on the medium tyre is probably looking to do 4 runs. It is a short track, so 4 runs are achievable. Baza goes off at the penultimate corner. He's missed his braking point. Parsa with the DRS wide open. He'll get a bit of a tow from the AlphaTauri in front of him. Where can officially Parsa go? It's only P5 for now, but he was heavily impeded on that lap by Baza, or, well, how that quite came to fruition, I don't know. Maybe Parsa started the lap way too close, but either way, it was a traffic-filled lap for officially Parsa, and he's only P6.
Hello.
Hello, Daniel. You have returned after some technical difficulties, the perils of live broadcasting, but hopefully
Indeed.
all is good now. As you see a random wheel in the middle of the track at turn 5. So yeah, currently it's Theo Hickman.
It's done its random, famous 8 p.m. fail breakdown, and I don't know why it's always around about this time, but it is. So I apologise for that. Hopefully it won't happen for the rest of this session.
Yeah, you disconnected at a very inconvenient time, it has to be said, because you did react to someone's crash, and then I asked you who it was, and I just got no response.
Yeah.
So, and Wet Lemons is in P3 at the moment. So, a very impressive, well, at least provisionally, very impressive lap from the McLaren driver. Theo Hickman from Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson will be thinking that's more like it. But of course, the drivers have only done 1 run, so there's at least another 2 for the drivers out there.
Yes, indeed, yes. I can see that. So Kaya is out the session, of course, but also Sayer Sports, Angel vs Death as well. And Bray Grylls is actually limping back to the pit lane here with no front wing. So he's also had an incident at some point, but luckily for him, he'll be able to get the car back to the garage.
Mr. John, I think, is the only driver out there who's currently on a lap. He's a bit wide through turn 9, but he's kept it legal. There's a Mercedes in front of him. I don't think he's close enough to cause any kind of slipstream or dirty air effect. So the Williams won't be or the Mercedes, I should say, will not be a problem as Mr. John invalidates the lap and he's crashed. He's managed somehow to keep the wheels on the car, all four of them. He's lost his wing and he's lost his lap, but he will get to continue on in this session.
Yeah, lucky. I wonder if that's what also happened to Blair Grills then. And if you do manage to strike the wall pretty much head on, you do sometimes get away with it and don't lose any tyres and manage to just lose the front wing, and he'll be able to get back to the pits. And once again, just like Blair Grills, he'll be able to go again with 10 minutes to go in this session then. And the top two in Bahrain are only 5th and 6th right now.
Yeah, it could very well be a wide open season. Again, Australia, an entirely different challenge. And someone's crashed.
Jacko nearly lost it at the start of the lap. It turn 2 on the exit of the corner. He nearly done what Kaya done and was almost in the wall. And he's had to back right off the lap.
And we've got Theo starting another lap. Let's go on board with the young Williams driver. DRS wide open now. He's going to have to keep it clean through turns 1 and 2. Don't go too wide through turn 1. The AstroTurf can spin you on the inside of turn 2, but he negotiates the corners nicely. Another DRS straight now down on the slightly curved straight on the run to turn 3. Goes wide as he possibly can. Don't use too much of that exit curve because it can unsettle the car. He goes a little bit wide, but nicely done. And he's still legal through turn 4. Turn 5 should be flat out. Little bit of oversteer through the corner, and he's set a first sector that is 0.2 up on his previous best through the tricky corners of turns 6 and 7. Now 8 is flat out, it's effectively a straight. Now turn 9, pick your braking point. Don't take too much speed through turn 9 because you want to open up turn 10 and get the run all the way down to the very, very tricky chicane of turns 11 and 12. Once a very enjoyable part of the track, not so much anymore with how dangerous it is nowadays. But wide entry to turn 12, and he's negotiated that very nicely, and apparently sets another purple sector. DRS open again, another DRS straight on this circuit. Now turn 13, keep it neat and tidy through here. Turn 14, you don't want to take too much speed, but you also need to take as much speed as you possibly can and get away with it. Now, turn 15, very tight. Don't want to take too much speed through here because you want to open up that final corner. Hopefully not too much understeer or oversteer. DRS is wide open, and Theo Hickman will be looking to improve on his provisional pole time. And can he do it? Yes, he can, by over half a second. It's a 1:21.2.
Well, that was absolutely brilliant. A fantastic lap from Hickman. He certainly took 11 and 12 far better than certainly I did yesterday at any stage. That was fantastic stuff. And he goes on to provisional pole by almost a second from Chris Johnson in second place. Oh, well, Evans has lost it. That's a strange place to lose it. It's on a David Coulthard there in 2000. He's done something similar on the penultimate couple of corners, but he gets away with it.
Yeah, and crucially for Wet Lemons, oh, careful, you don't want to...
Oh, his teammates dropped it at just before the end of the first sector as well. End of the second sector, sorry. And he'd been disqualified from the session. And Jacko spun at tier 12. So, identical time then. A disaster for the top two from Bahrain. One of them gets disqualified, and then the other one almost throws it in the wall.
And just as I mentioned Pars's inconsistencies at the end of the previous race, I think they're creeping back in. I think I opened my mouth too soon. Hopefully not for Pars's sake, but it will be the back of the grid for the McLaren driver, P18 for officially Parsa after starting on pole. So from first to last, 0 to 0, officially Parsa will be looking to make the most of the race, and I think it will be an incident-filled race. It's certainly been an incident-filled qualifying.
Oh, and nearly got Basil losing it as well at turn 2 there. Got away with it. So yeah, he lost it at turn 10. I wonder if he did something similar to what I did yesterday at turn 10. Just hit the curb and literally the car just spun. But then he was facing backwards, and as he was trying to recover back on the track, he got disqualified for driving the wrong way and is starting at the back of the field because of that. Jacko still can't get a lap in. He's had an instance. Wheelnut also just had an instance at turn 12. Wow, this is going to be a crazy race, isn't it? I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I don't think we can really expect anything from this, to be honest, as Blair Grills has a very impressive lap to take himself up to the top 5. Alex Zaffro currently in P6, and I believe he's on a quick lap, and he's up on his time after the second sector. Take as much speed as you can through turn 14, keep it tight through turn 15, and he dives into the pits. So My apologies for that. Well, the time did say he was up, and the lap did look valid, so maybe he's run out of fuel. He's running quite low on energy, so I think that may be the case.
We have got Bazza coming around the final corner. He's definitely about to complete a lap. It is worth saying, though, of course, he did have that wobble at the exit of turn 2. But even with that, he goes into second place. Now, I seen him have that wobble at the exit of turn 2, and it certainly would have cost him time. So he can go even quicker. But look at that. Right now, Hickman's lap is untouchable.
Yeah, and I think, Theo even perhaps made a little bit of a mistake at turn 4. It looked like he went... he was a bit too trigger happy on the throttle and had to kind of back out of the speed and lost a bit of momentum on the run up to turn 6. So I think Theo has a bit more time to find. So he's really set the bar very, very high for these other drivers to try and clear.
Absolutely. I was watching Moss here, who was having to go so... Oh, look how carefully he's going through turn 1 and through turn 5. And in fact, I think he's backed off. I think, he's definitely backed off from this lap. But turn 1, when he was going for it, he also had a bit of a moment. He's got a Ferrari off the track. It's Red Bull Kim. Red Bull Kim is facing backwards at turn 5. Is that the exit at turn 5, isn't it? He's
going to have to get a move on before
he to lose it.
Gets disqualified for being parked. He was very cautious there. He had enough time. Ignore the tyre that is just sat on the middle of the track. There's nothing that can be done about that. Is that on your screen as well?
Well, it is. There is one down the start-finish straight.
Oh, there's a different one. Okay, great.
Okay.
So, yes, apologies for the errant Pirelli tyres. But anyway, we have Wet Lemons on an out lap, and actually I think we've got Moss. Moss is on an in lap. So, Wet Lemons.
We have got Sir Tom Penguin just coming through the final corner. And we'll see what he can do. He's in 12th place right now, but he's going to get a lap in. And it puts him up to 5th.
I have to say, the rate of progress from Sir Tom Penguin has been very impressive to see over the last few seasons. He was consistently towards the rear of the field in previous seasons, but now, we've seen him on the podium, we've seen him take a pole position, of course. So Sir Tom Penguin's certainly on the way up.
And Jacko has tried to go for another lap, and he was 3/10 up, it said, but he has seemingly invalidated it. So Jacko cannot get another lap on the board at the moment.
Yeah, even when there's corners that don't try to put you into a wall, they're still very easy to invalidate. There's probably not a single corner on this track which you can actually say is easy, apart from perhaps turn 8. But very, very difficult track. At least for Jacko, well, no, he's still going to want to improve on P11 because P11 around here is not great. It's not an easy track to overtake at. But he will get fresh tyres, of course, but... I don't know, I still think we're going to get an early safety car just like we did in TGP1, so I don't think starting on mediums is going to be too beneficial, but Jacko's lining it up for another go.
Yeah, I think you've got to start on soft tyres, really, to be honest. You have to. Just watching Indecisive here, who took turn 11, 12 very well indeed. Might have got a bit of a toe off his teammate there down the DRS zone, and he comes through with the final couple of corners now. This is where Lemons had a weird spin early on in the session. No such thing for Indecisive. I think Indecisive is certainly going to move up the board here. I'm not sure where, though. It is quite close. Only 2/10 separating 5th and 10th place right now. So we'll see if Indecisive shoots up there. He crosses the line, and he does indeed. He goes up into 4th.
Let's have a look at Wet Lemons. Wet Lemons, the best kind of lemons, of course. He is 4/10 up on his previous time, which would put him up into P2 if he can keep it all together and match his previous sector time in the final sector. So... again, sacrifice your speed in that penultimate corner. DRS will be open on the pit straight. Can Wet Lemons get himself onto the front row as we have a yellow flag in Sector 1, but we're going to ignore that for now. Wet Lemons goes up into P2.
And Alex Zafra went into P3, went into P2 just before that, then immediately beaten by Wet Lemons. So brilliant lap by Alex Zafra as well. So when it comes down to it then, in the final seconds of the session, people are improving, but say Tom Penguin spinning at turn 12. He spins and he was a 10th up on his lap as well. That's a shame for him. We've got Blair Grills coming through there next. Well, in fact, he's backed right off.
I think at this point, everyone just really has to go for it at this point, unless you're having an absolute disaster of a qualifying session. So maybe Dom will just be looking to get a solid lap in there, and it's actually, again, purple sector 2, but that's the graphic, and I don't think we can trust that graphic because it seems to come up for everybody.
Well, Well, Jacko got a lap in eventually. Jacko got a lap in eventually, got into third place. And yeah, I think it's only really Dom who's going to improve here. But I tell you what, it's going to have a bit of traffic here from Moss. That might have been putting him off a little bit. And I think he might have been finding that quite frustrating. Oh, he's very wide into the final corner as well there. And we'll see what Dom does then across the line. I think he's lost a lot of time in the final sector. And in fact, he can only go up to 8th place.
Well, he still gained places. He was P11, but he's lost his fresh tyre set at the start of the race, but he does gain track position. And I think if you're qualifying 8th around a track like this, I think it's definitely better than qualifying P11. If you qualify P10, it's not so great, of course. I'd rather qualify 11th than 10th. I qualified 10th yesterday, so I know the frustration of it. But thankfully, I believe that rule will not be in place for 2022. So for the next game, that will no longer be a problem. But
we've still got some drivers on lap times here going for it at this very late stage of the session. You've got Sir Tom Penguin. Let's see if he can get through turn 11, turn 12 this time. Oh, he was very cautious on the rig, so he's got through it, but he certainly will have lost time. But we'll see if he can improve. Here's Moss. Let's see if Moss can do it. He's 2.5 tenths up at the moment, and he's just like cadence acceleration there, isn't it, as he was going through the corner. But at least he got through it and didn't go for the spin. He's in 10th place right now. Wow, he needs to improve as well.
Yeah, I guess Moss has to decide whether he just needs to be cautious and get an okay grid position, or whether he just needs to go completely flat out and push his luck. As Blair Grills goes back into the top 5, Moss Isley across the line, and it's 10th.
Wow. Wow.
Did he run out of fuel? I don't think he did.
He's still pushing now, so I don't think he did. But so 10th place then. Alex Afro is improving around the final corner, but he's invalidated the lap, so this isn't going to count unless he's about to set a 1:16, which would have been an incredible lap time. But he invalidates the lap as well. So wow, what a race this is going to be! It's a virtually totally different grid to the race that we just had, isn't it? It's almost completely different. We've got Jacko still right up there, who finally got a lap in. You've got Hickman on pole, Wet Lemons in seconds, Alex Afro there in 4th, Grey Girls 5th, and look, quite a few of them have done quite a few laps on the tyres as well. Sir Tom Penguin's done 4 laps on these tyres already.
Yeah, so he'll be hoping for an early safety car, and I think, it's quite a reasonable bet to put on. Drivers have to be taking it so cautiously. I know in TGP1 last night we were all crawling through that chicane, just making sure we actually kept it on the road, prioritising getting the car home as opposed to actually pushing the car flat out. But Theo Hickman on pole from Wet Lemons, a very impressive session from the McLaren driver. Jacko in P3, followed by Alex Zafro in the AlphaTauri, Blair Grills in 5th, Sir Tom Penguin in 6th, followed by Baza. Chris Johnson, I think he'll still be disappointed with that, in P8. Indecisive Mackie and Moss, another guy who'll be disappointed, the reigning champion, of course, in P10. Dom Smith and Daniel Price in the Mercedes are in 11th and 12th. Red Bull Kim in P13. And then we have Kaya, who failed to set a lap, followed by Sayer Sports, Angel vs. Death, Mr. John, and officially Parsa. So I think we need to look out for Sayer Sports and officially Parsa in the race after not setting a time.
This is going to be a really interesting race then, isn't it? Anything could happen here. And as you were saying, I think if you're in the bottom half of the field, it is probably best to start on the soft tyres, because the chances of a safety car in the opening few corners here are surely quite high. Oh, and I'm in a Haas for some reason. I am in a Haas. You're going to have to commentate on the stars here, Roy, because I am in a Haas car. I obviously did not go and spectate.
Right.
So I will immediately retire from the race, obviously.
I think you've actually just caused Parsa another grid position then, because...
No, Parsa's ahead of me. Parsa's still
is
ahead
he?
of me.
Okay, well, at least there's that. But okay, I guess I'll be on race start duties. You can take the role of the medical car. You can just kind of see if anyone has spun at the start.
Evaluating the back of the field here.
Yeah, so we have Theo Hickman on pole position. 5 lights are on, and we're underway in Australia, but it looks like a better start for Wet Lemons than it is for Theo Hickman. Wet Lemons has the inside line, and he's got the run on Theo Hickman. I think Wet Lemons will take the lead. Of course, he will. Theo Hickman now has the run, though, onto turn 3. No DRS, of course, because it is only lap 1. And Theo Hickman has the run down into turn 3. Will he make a move down the inside? Yes, he will. Has to take the opportunities when they come. There's almost contact as Wet Lemons runs very wide. He tries to throw it up the inside of turn 4, but he fails to do so. It's still Theo Hickman. It's very close at the front between the top two, but it's Theo Hickman who holds onto the lead from Wet Lemons. Alex Zaffro is up to third. Sir Tom Penguin up in fourth. Brilliant start from the two AlphaTauri drivers. Jacko drops 2 places and is now running in fifth, with Chris Johnson up to sixth. Moss up to eighth. So it's a pretty good start from those guys. Dom Smith is now down in P18, so disaster for the Aston Martin driver. And Parsa has already made his way up into P12.
And he's just spun. He went for the move on Sayers Bort and spins immediately.
Okay, well, that's, again, not the ideal start to his season. Well, I mean, it was the ideal start to his season, but not the ideal on average between the two races. But it's Theo Hickman, but Wet Lemons is all over the back of him. So I think the McLaren driver will be looking to shape up a move for the lead soon.
Well, I have to say, that was certainly looked like a much cleaner start than TGP1 did yesterday. In fact, Dom has no front wing, so I don't know when that happened to Dom. I say we did see him losing a load of position. He actually has no front wing. He has a limp back to the pit lane. Then we start the second lap, and we've got also Blake Grills in the pit lane, so he must have picked up some damage as well. Top to, oh wow, Chris Johnson almost loses it on the exit of turn 2 there, but gets through in the end. And as you say, it's still Lemons, Pressure and Hickman.
Sayre Sports all over the back of Indecisive Mackie. He won't be close enough into turn 3 to make any kind of move, but Sayre Sports making positions up after not setting a lap in qualifying. It's I have to say, the qualifying sessions in the opening round for Sayre Sports have not been particularly good, and the Ferrari driver will be looking to improve as he runs very wide through turn 5. I wonder if he got a warning for that, but he's unsettled the car, but he's managed to keep it on the road. And Sayre Sports, he's made his way up to the top 10 to be fair, so it still is a good start, but he should be higher up the field, you have to say.
Well, even worse for Dom is the fact that he actually started the race on the medium tyres. So he's now having to put the soft tyres on for the rest of the race. So really has fallen apart from very early on this race for Dom. Parser, as you say, made up some few positions at the start, then had the spin. And at the moment, it's quite clean with all the drivers right now. But Angel vs Death runs wide at turn 11. Oh, and Daniel Wheelnut goes to spin straight behind. A big accident. And Daniel Wheelnut is out the race. And will this be a safety car? He had to sort of avoid the car, the Haas. And ended up crashing himself, and we do have a VSC.
VSC, Dom will be pretty annoyed with that. That's not going to help you move up the field. Theo Hickman into the pits. Okay, that's brave from the race leader, it has to be said. It's always a tricky one when you are the race leader, because you're the first one to make a move. You can react if you're the car in second place, and Wet Lemons choosing to do the opposite to Theo Hickman. It's a very, very early time to pit. 12 laps. Track position is more important around here than it is around Bahrain, but still he's going to have to potentially be quite defensive later on in the race, and DRS is enabled. We're back underway. Theo Hickman comes out just behind Red Bull Kim, and he's actually the only car to pit behind that virtual safety car, which is actually quite surprising, I must say.
It was Bazar and Moss pitted as well, but they had to deal with the VSC being, back to green flag racing again while they were still in the pit lane. So really only Theo benefits from that, but he's going to have to get past Red Bull Kim straight away here, isn't he? He really needs to get that move done. So to avoid getting held up, is this going to be the moment now? Yes, it is. And Theo then goes up into 11th place, and we'll see what he can do. He managed to. I wonder if he expected a few others to follow in the pit lane there, and that did not happen, as Jacko runs very wide through 10, 11 and 12, loses a bit of time, and Chris Johnson just closed in half a second.
Yeah, it's very close in the upper parts of the midfield, and I'm interested to see how this works out for Theo Hickman. If a full safety car comes out, he could be in a very poor position. He will, of course, still jump a few cars when they do come into the pits, but Wet Lemons will certainly jump one. I think Alex Zaffron and Tom Penguin would as well. So I think at the moment it could potentially be advantage Wet Lemons, and we have a yellow flag in the final sector, but that looks to be cleared now. Wet Lemons, however, has a 3-second penalty. It's worth pointing out he did pick up 8 seconds of penalties in Bahrain, so he needs to cut that out if he's going to be contending for wins and podiums, and who knows, maybe even the championship if his run of form continues like this.
Yeah, maybe so. And Jacko, Chris Johnson goes side by side into turn 3. Chris Johnson has been gaining on Jacko very steadily and almost makes the move, and Jacko might be creating a bit of a jam now. Oh, and Indecisive runs wide through turn 5 but gets away with it. But Joe Sayers now right on his tail. Just can't go for the move for the time being, but they are right close together. Chris Johnson and Jacko, and particularly Sayer and Indecisive. Is Sayer going to go for a move here? No, he's not. He decides to hold back, and he'll have DRS in a moment, providing, of course, that they can navigate turn 11 and 12. But Chris Johnson's going for Jacko now.
It's a very brave move to go around the outside. He thinks better of it because you're not going to go around the outside of there, but he does have the better run through turn 12. They've both managed to keep it on the road. DRS is enabled. It's a short straight, but there is going to be an opportunity for Chris Johnson here if he can lunge it up the inside, but again, he doesn't have the confidence to do so. Jacko runs a bit wide. Chris Johnson will have the momentum into turn 14. He'll be brave to try it around there, and they still side by side. Kaya has retired from the session. Will that bring out a safety car? It does.
It will. It will bring out a safety car, and Wet Lemons has gone past the safety car, which he will be ever so thankful for. But he did miss the pit lane as well, of course, so Jacko comes in, and all from fourth downwards, then they all come in the pit lane. The top three had to continue. This is pretty terrible for the AlphaTauri guys, who looks like they might have to queue. And there's Hickman then, comes out in fourth. This is going to be interesting. I'm assuming they have to stick to the Delta, aren't they, for the entire lap?
Yeah, they'll have to stick to a Delta, so I think Theo, he may jump Sir Tom Penguin, but I don't know about anyone else. The others may be too far ahead. It is a very, very slow pit lane around here, because it is technically a street track around here, but I don't know. And also the safety car is not good for Wet Lemons with that 3-second penalty, so he's going to be hoping that others pick up some penalties as well. So at the moment then, it could be Alex Afro in the net lead of this race.
It may well be, yeah, that's absolutely right. But it would have been even worse for Lemons if he had to get straight behind the safety car there, but he managed to overtake it before it came out the pit lane. But surely, oh, he's gone off, Wet Lemons. What the hell's he doing? I don't know what he was doing there, but decides to just have a little detour off the road. That would have lost him some time under the Delta. But in he comes, and Hickman is just coming the exit of turn 12. So we'll see if he manages to stay out ahead or not. It's very early, slowing down very early in the pit lane entry here. This is very early, isn't it? Roy, I'm right in saying that.
Yeah, because I'm noticing Sir Tom Penguin seems to be slowing down very, very early. But then again, he does kind of have to build a gap because he is going to have to queue. I think he would have lost the position to Theo Hickman anyway, as the McLaren jumps out right in front. And
this is it's going to be very close. This maybe, you know, out the pit lane, and he's going to do it. Hickman is indeed going to retain the lead of the race.
I suppose. But
I think that was all caused. But I think it was all caused by a very slow pit lane entry by Lemons. That's the only thing that I can figure out there.
And Sir Tom Penguin, oh dear. He's ended up in 9th, I think, being held up in the pits. If it was anyone other than his teammate, I think he would have come out a few positions in front, but unfortunately, he remains in P9. Red Bull Kim, yet to pit, is currently running in P5. Let's have a quick look. Let's see who has changed their tyres. Is it will let me? Stops, there we go.
I think they've all pitted now, apart from Red Bull Kim. I think I'm right in saying, yeah, they have. But I'm just really intrigued by that pit lane entry from Lemons. I'm pretty sure he was very, very, very early on the pit limiter there. It is 37 miles per hour, isn't it? So maybe he just wants to be extra careful. But I think it actually might have cost him the lead of the race.
Yeah, you wonder, maybe he's never actually... Well, he did just do qualifying, so we should know where the limiter line is. So, yeah, other than being overly cautious, I can't really think of why he's done it. But Theo Hickman did have like several seconds of a gap, so maybe he would have jumped him anyway. But like, I don't know, I thought the gap was definitely big enough for Wet Lemons to retain the lead, but obviously not. So it is Theo Hickman then who has the lead of the race, but he does have the worst tyres of anyone in the top 4.
He does, but he does also have behind him a guy with a 3-second penalty, so perhaps he can hold up the rest of the field for a while. That's what Hickman will be hoping for. I think we're going to have another lap on here, one more lap under this safety car. And look at Dom right at the very back. He's still catching up to the queue here. I think he had another pit stop there while he could. Decides to put a fresh set of mediums on. And he will be grateful that we at least will get to possibly have some sort of battle in this race. with some other cars once we get going on this safety car restart. So 3 drivers out the race then. Oh no, 2 drivers out the race. Ignore the guy at the very bottom.
Oh, well,
But
of course.
yeah, two drivers out of this race so far. As well, we're not even at the halfway stage yet.
Yeah, Red Bull Kim still out there. He did start the race on the mediums, but well,
Yeah,
expect him to fall down the order, unfortunately. I'd imagine he'll pit around lap 10, 11. But yeah, Theo Hickman, all he needs to do really is defend the positions. He can maybe afford to let Wet Lemons go in the last 2-3 laps, because Wet Lemons will of course have to build a 3-second gap. And then if you're Wet Lemons, well, you'll be looking to get past as soon as possible. Lap 8 will be your target to retain the lead. But yeah, quite a challenge ahead for both of these drivers. Alex Zaffro could be in a very good position.
Wonder what Parser can do then. Who the race winner in Bahrain, of course, disqualified in qualifying in Australia and then spun in a similar place on lap 1 of the race. And we'll see if he can make up some positions at the restart as well. Looking good then at the end of the first night of racing to Jacko to possibly be leading the championship, assuming he can hold on to a decent position here. But I think it's going to be very close. And it's going to be a very close season altogether, isn't it? But Chris Johnson will want to get through on Red Bull Kim pretty quickly at this restart. We're only seeing, considering Red Bull Kim's yet to pit.
Yeah, Red Bull Kim really is the cork in the bottle for a lot of these drivers outside the top 5. And Theo Hickman, he's back in the pack up very, very early. It's a very long final sector here in Australia, so the safety car lights go out very, very early. Unlike Bahrain, where the final sector is one of the shortest on the calendar, this is probably one of the longest on the calendar. And
but they nearly touched there.
They did touch there. Wet Lemon's getting very eager. That does generate a penalty that will have to get removed, I'd imagine. But Theo Hickman leads the field around the final corner. It's a solid restart from the young Williams driver. Wet Lemons can't do anything about it. I thought there was a yellow flag, but no, that has been cleared. And the order is as you were. No one managing to get a run down the very short pit straight. And again, through turns 2 and 3 we go. And the order is all the same except for Chris Johnson, who's looking to make a move around the outside of Red Bull Kim, and he does manage to do so. Red Bull Kim taking tight to the apex, not fighting it too hard because he knows he has a tyre disadvantage to the rest of the field. Officially Parsa is out the race.
He had a moment to turn and lost his front wing, and I think he might have just retired, decided to just pack it in. So race winner will not score a point in the second race then. The top 2 have that penalty now, because Wet Lemon does have a 3-second genuine penalty, but the other one I don't think will be genuine and will get counted. As Tom Penguin makes his way past indecisive for 9th place, and for the first time since the safety car restart, they're able to navigate turn 11 and turn 12 and see if they can all get through. Wet Lemons is off! Wet Lemons is off!
Oh, and he's nearly collected by Jacko. Don't go too bad. Oh, okay. I thought he was reversing too quickly into the wall there. I thought he would have picked up some more damage. But Wet Lemons nearly oversteers into Blair Grills as he tries to get back onto the power. So Wet Lemons down to P13. An absolute disaster for the McLaren driver. It's Theo Hickman now with the lead over Alex Zaffro. So I think that's good for Theo Hickman, but Alex Zaffro does have slightly fresher tyres, and there's another incident, is there?
It's Bazza at the penultimate corner went for the move on Red Bull Kim. He was obviously getting frustrated and just went off the road because of it, and Red Bull Kim is causing all sorts of chaos here. I think he's having to back up. I think he has to let a driver back through there for overtaking under yellow flags because of Bazza going off the road, and well, he is just causing a lot of frustration for these drivers as Alex Zaffro spins now as well.
Does anyone apart from Theo actually want to win this race? It's like whenever someone gets up the front, they just have a moment. And Theo Hickman, his advantage grows even further, 3.4 seconds. Even if he doesn't get that penalty removed, who knows? He may not even need to get it removed at this rate.
Look at Red Bull Kim, and indecisive. Oh, he caused a crash. He hits the Ferrari, and Chris Johnson's out of the race. Chris Johnson is out of the race. He's gone off further round the field, and we've got another safety car.
So a third safety car is a possibility then. So, wow, surely Red Bull Kim has to pit, and I think the other drivers will be begging him to pit as well at this rate.
An incredible moment of drama there. Chris Johnson lost it. He done a Maldonado, it looks like he might have done, but on the previous corner into turn 5, Red Bull Kim was really causing all sorts of trouble, causing a bit of a jam, and then which caused Indecisive to run wide, and then as he rejoined the track, I think he hit Sire Sports, and then bounced off the road and went back into the wall. And is he still in the race? He is still in the race, but he doesn't have a front wing. He's got Tom behind him, who can't overtake, I don't think. Frustrating race for Don.
Red Bull
we have
came,
another safety car.
finally pits, much to the relief of several drivers. Will anyone else choose to dive in? I believe Angel versus Death has also come into the pits, looking to get rid of those mediums. You might as well. Will Dom pit? Dom pits and will hold up his teammate, Indecisive Mackie. Not sure if that may escalate tensions at Aston Martin, but they were last and second from last anyway. So I suppose at the end of the day, it's not really going to affect much. So yeah, they might as well go for the soft tyres, chuck on a set of them. Only 14 runners left in this race, and also Chris Johnson at the end of tonight will have 1 point to his name.
Well, what part of that incident did you actually see when it happened, Roy? Did you catch Chris Johnson crashing?
I did not. I was flicking through the grid, I believe, so I don't think I actually caught anything.
Oh, right, okay.
Which, yeah, very annoying, but... yeah, there's only 14 runners left, so if you finish this race, you're getting at least a point.
It was a chaotic moment through turn 5 with Red Bull Kim holding up the field, and I'm surprised it didn't create a bigger accident, to be fair. And it was just Indecisive who's got problems because of it. But a huge shame then for for Aston Martin, both at the very back of the field now. But, well, Red Bull Kim, look, and he's going to be on a safety car restart now on fresh soft tyres. Maybe he's going to be flying through the field at the restart.
Yeah, maybe he'll be causing the opposite problem for the other drivers. But Moss, an excellent recovery to the podium as things stand. I don't want to jinx anything in this race because I don't think there's been anything predictable about this one. But as there's some overtaking behind the safety car, I think that's been resolved.
Yeah, they were just bunching up behind the safety car then, so Hickman has that 5-second penalty, of course, from being hit. That's not going to be counted towards his race time, so we can disregard that when he crosses the line. And Jacko benefited from Chris Johnson crashing, and benefited from Alex Afro spinning, and is in second place now, where he was in Bahrain. He may end up having quite a comfortable lead in the championship after the first race, but he has certainly had quite a bit of luck in this one. Moss as well might be able to get a podium as well. You've got Sir Tom Penguin up into 4th place for the time being, and Alex Afro, he just looks like Sir Sports might just hit the back of Sir Tom Penguin as well. So there's another annoying 5-second penalty we'll have to remove from the mix. But Alex Afro, oh wow, he could have been in 2nd place at this restart, couldn't he?
Yeah, Alex Afro has thrown away a lot of points in this one. Still running in the top 10, and Wet Lemons does have a penalty, so it's provisionally P9, but yeah, you would have been looking for better than that. I think someone else who would have been looking for better is actually, no, he's out the race. I thought Parsa was still in it. I forgot he retired. So the race winner from Bahrain will not be making it a double tonight, so we will be getting 2 different race winners in the opening night of TGP2. But who will that winner be?
That's another one I forgot to mention as well. Yeah, of course, just on the lap before it all kicked off there, we had Wet Lemons dropping it as well, didn't we? Well, he was also in a podium position, so incredible set of circumstances here. They're all managing to lose it. We did expect a crazy race. That's certainly what's happening, and we've still got another 4 laps of it to go. And I believe this is also the first TGP race in history to have... Well, so it won't be the first race in history to have 2 safety cars, but it'll certainly be the first one to have 3 interruptions, because we've had a virtual safety car and 2 safety cars.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't get one last night, to be honest. This is kind of the race I was expecting last night. We just had 2 virtual safety cars fairly early on, but never a full one. But here we go. Theo Hickman leads the field round again, leading the train. We'll be looking to get a restart similar to the one he had last time. But he's got Jacko ready to make a move. When will he go?
He's back on them right up here. And let's see if he can do it, because it was Jacko who was doing a safety car restart in Bahrain. And now he's in 2nd place here for this restart in Australia. And goes now, Theo, and I think it's going to be good enough. I don't think he'll be challenging. In fact, look at Moss. Moss is on Jacko and third for second place. Can Moss steal second from Jacko? Down on the run to turn 1. Jacko just fends him off, but wow, Moss got close there. And as he go through turn 1 and turn 2, can they all survive through turn 1 and turn 2? Virgil's been very wide on the exit, and it might open the door for Lemons to get into 8th place here. They're going to be side by side into turn 3. Who's going to be late on the brakes? Is Wet Lemons going to go around the outside and take 8th? Yes, he does.
I think that was actually too good a restart from Moss. I think he was going to overtake Jacko before the start-finish line. That rule recently reintroduced, not quite sure why. I think it's just made safety car restart slightly worse in my opinion, but Moss had to stay
He's got to run
behind
them
Jacko.
now.
He's got to run on them
He's
now,
got to
as
run
you
on
say.
them now.
Down the inside of turn
10,
9.
can he do it?
Will there be contact? No, just about avoiding it. And now this is allowing Tom Penguin to get involved here. Will Tom Penguin decide to go around the outside of turn 11? That would be a very brave move if he can pull it off. Is he going to attempt it? Yes, he is, but he runs wide and he loses his momentum. He's going to be very wide or very tight into turn 12.
Oh, it's Sayer Sports has hit him.
Sayer Sports has hit him.
And it's off.
Sayer Sports has completely lost his wing. And that's an absolute disaster for Sayer Sports. After 2 disappointing qualifying sessions, he had a good recovery in Bahrain, but it's all fallen to pieces here in Australia. Wet Lemons is now up to P7. Alex Zaffro pressuring him. Alex Zaffro will also be looking to make up the places that he lost earlier on in the race with that spin. But it's Theo Hickman out in front by 1.9 seconds. Moss is still all over the back of Jacko. Moss looking very, very quick in the race here. So Moss will be looking to get P2 at least.
Yeah, Jacko is really struggling, which is a surprise considering Moss's tyres are 2 laps older. But he is right still on the back of Jacko right now. It's quite close as well with Mr. John and Lemons. Lemons is trying to fight his way back through the field. We know he's got the pace, and he's going to have a bit of a collision with Mr. John, and another one as well for good measure. And Mr. John will stay ahead for the time being, just about.
Yeah, I think Wet Lemons kind of turned in a bit too early there. He didn't quite realise that Mr. John was still there.
He's going for it now.
Versus death. Oh, he's gone for it now. As I went to look for another incident, he's gone
gets
for
it done, but then Mr. John gets him straight back, and it's going to open the door for Alex Zaffro to
Alex
fight
Zaffro
through.
potentially the Alpine. And Alex Zaffro tries to get both of them, but in the end, Wet Lemons somehow goes around the outside and they make contact, and there's also a moment for Mr. John
as well. Oh, wow, so Alex Zaffro spins, Mr. John spun but got away with it and just loses a couple of positions. Alex Zaffro loses loads of them, into his death has been disqualified. Crazy race. Lemons up into 6th place and he's
crashed. And he's out the race.
Well, Tom Smith was at the very back a couple of laps ago. He's now in 6th.
He's now in 6th place. He's got Blair Grills quite close to the back of him, but again, track position is important around here, as we see with Moss and Jacko. Although Jacko, to be fair, has actually pulled out quite a few tenths. It's actually Sir Tom Penguin who's closer to Moss than Moss is to Jacko. And I believe that's the closest battle we have on track. We've got Red Bull Kim currently running in the top 10. He's currently running in 9th. He's got Indecisive Mackie all over the back of him. Indecisive Mackie, of course, though, does have a penalty. So at the moment, Red Bull Kim... Oh, he turns in. I'm not quite sure. It's hard to tell from that angle.
Well,
did Red Bull Kim turn in?
That was just... It was Red Bull Kim was very early on the brakes, and Indecisive decides to go for a move. And Indecisive was probably a little bit frustrated after being effectively Red Bull Kim the cause of his collision earlier in the race. So 2 laps to go then, and Moss is still pressuring Jacko. In fact, Moss runs wide, and in fact might open the door here for Sir Tom Penguin to gain. Sir Tom Penguin's got a penalty, but it won't apply, I don't think. And will he go for 3rd place? No, he will not. He backs off. So what an unbelievable race this is then. We had all sorts of chaos. Wet Lemons has spun twice at turn 11 while he was in a good spot, and totally destroyed his race. As they go through turn 11 and turn 12 right now, Moss is the one beginning to struggle at this stage. Jacko was pulled right away from Moss, and his tyres are maybe finally showing their age. And it's Tom Penguin going to go for it now into turn 13. Don't want to move this a bit. He forces him off the track. Well, I think that was fair. I think he had that position done.
It depends on who was ahead at the time. I think if that does go to review, it would depend on who's ahead. If Sir Tom Penguin was ahead, then I think he may get to keep that one. But of course, worth pointing out, he does have a penalty, so he will have to rescind this position regardless. Actually, no, because it's that 5-second penalty that will get removed. So I think the only person with a penalty that will actually stand at the end of this race is Indecisive Mackie with a 6-second time penalty, which at the moment would drop him down to P11.
And here's Dom going for Bazet on 5th place then. Can Dom get a top 5 finish in this race, which would be incredible? I think it's going to come right down to the wire, that one, isn't it? As Alex Zaffro gets ahead of Red Bull Kim for 10th place then. An incredible second race of this season in TGP2, and Moss is still not giving up on Sir Tom Penguin either. And Moscow's off again at the same corner. He went off there last time, and now Bazza gets through, and Tom's going to try and get through. They're going to be 3 wide going into turn 9. Good luck with that one. Tom gets them both. Tom's up to 4th.
So Tom Smith has somehow worked his way back up into 4th place, despite being about 20 seconds off the back of the field at the start of this race. Those 2 safety cars have really brought him back in. He's bolted on those fresh set of soft tyres, and he's worked his way back up into 4th.
Incredible. At the front, the winner is about to cross the line. He'll have the 5 seconds, but they won't apply. And Hickman, ultimately, despite all the chaos, has come through the field and is going to take the victory, a second victory in TGP2. He wins in Australia. Jacko will finish in 2nd place once again for the night. Sir Tom Penguin will get a fantastic podium in 3rd. Dom will be 4th, Bazza 5th, Moss in 6th, Blair Grills will be 7th, and Mr. John will come home in 8th place. Sir Tom Penguin, remember, that is a 3rd place for Sir Tom Penguin. That is a 3rd place for Sir Tom Penguin. As the guys at the back finish as well, very close between Alex Afro, Indecisive drops down a position. Alex Afro in 9th, and then the 2 Ferrari drivers, Red Bull Kim and Seiya Sports, who collided with it was Chris Johnson, wasn't it? He went flying off at turn 11, turn 12. He is going to finish at the very back of the field. What a race.
Yeah, I had to catch my breath after that one. There was just incidents everywhere. Well, cautions breed cautions, as they say, and I think that was certainly the case here. And Seiya Sports, the last finisher on track. I'm not quite sure. I think the other 2, the last 2 retirees, I think they may still be classified. So Mr. John with driver of the day coming through from the back after not setting a quali lap. And, well, we've got Jacko celebrating on the podium on the top step, but I believe Theo's penalty will be removed, as we said. So it's Theo Hickman who comes out victorious. So we have, let's try to rearrange this running order here. We have Theo Hickman, who actually won ahead of Jacko, and then we go down to 7th for Sir Tom Penguin, who was 3rd in this race, pending any penalties from that incident with Moss. I think that should be okay, but we will give you an update in a week's time. Dom Smith, or of course check out the TGP website for further information on standings. So Dom Smith, a very impressive P4 ahead of Bazza, Moss, Blair Grills, Mr. John in P8, Alex Afro 9th, Indecisive Mackie rounding out the top 10, Red Bull Kim finishing in 11th, Seiya Sports the last of the finishers in P12, Wet Lemons and Chris Johnson, I believe they'll get points because they retired quite late on in the race, Parsa, Kaya, Wheelnut, well, Dan the Man, technically, and Angel versus Death. Angel versus Death somehow finished behind you. Oh, he got disqualified, actually, that's why. So, yeah, those are the drivers who round out the session.
Oh, you can see on your screen there a look up what the standings look like. That's not actually what the standings look like, of course. It will be a little bit different, but not entirely, not a million miles off from how they will ultimately look. And, of course, yeah, Dom got the podium, didn't he, in Bahrain, and a 4th place in Australia just now. So a really good night for Dom, even though, with just 5 laps to go in that race, he was stuck behind his teammate with no front wing under a safety car.
Yeah, and I think under the Joe Sayer point system, I think the top 2 will be the top 2 in the actual standings, because the top positions are the same as real life. So I think it is, in terms of the championship, it is Jacko from Dom after night 1.
It's going to be quite close then, isn't it? I imagine between the likes of Hickman, Horse, all those guys, Moss, it's going to be all really close, isn't it, with those guys? But, well, what a brilliant first night of racing.
Yeah, just 2 races in, and I'm looking forward to the next 20 rounds, or next 20 races could be quite hectic and unpredictable. So definitely stick around for that one. We will be back the same time next week on the TGP Series YouTube channel for more TGP2 action. I hope you will join us then. But for now, it is goodbye and good night.